If I could only keep 10 makeup brushes, this is what I'd keep. I really challenged myself with this exercise because I love having a lot of brushes to choose from, a lot of options. These are some of my absolute favorite brushes, and I actually can't believe I was able to get a whole makeup look with just these brushes. This look I'm wearing right now, we're gonna do it together on camera while I go through and share why I love each of these brushes so much. It's a lot of BK Beauty. You guys know I love their brushes. I have for years. Some of their brushes I've had for going on 4 years now. They are having a Black Friday sale, as are most brands at the moment, but BK Beauty, they're doing I think 25 to 35% off their website. So if you were looking at purchasing any of their brushes, I think that now would be a great time to do so. I also have a couple of Sigma brushes here, and they usually have a pretty good Black Friday sale on their site as well. So let's hop into this makeup look and I'll show you how I used each of these brushes. I already have foundation on. I did apply it with a sponge. That is how I pretty much always apply foundations, either with a sponge or my fingers, depending on the formula. I almost never use a brush for foundation. Concealer, on the other hand, I always apply with a brush. And the brush I use for concealer pretty much every single day is the BK Beauty Angie Hot and Flashy A506. This is also lovingly known as the kitten paw. So cute. I love that steep angle that it has. It's just perfect for hugging right into the corners of my under eye. And I did see that BK Beauty, as part of their Black Friday sale, they are actually giving these as a gift with purchase for any orders over $150. It's so soft, it's never like scratchy or stiff on my under eyes, it just feels really nice. Blends out my concealer so quickly, I never get any like streakiness. This really is like a daily use brush for me. Now I will say, as I've mentioned before, Alter Ego has come out with a dupe of the entire BK Beauty Angie Hot and Flashy line of brushes, including the kitten paw, so I do have both. I will say I do notice the difference in quality. The Alter Ego one, like, it has some bristles that don't quite sit in line with the rest of them. They're kind of like poking out. But other than that, I feel like I get a very similar application with both. The next brush I would keep if I could only keep 10 brushes is also from the Angie Hot and Flashy collab with BK Beauty, and it's the A507. This is an angled face brush, and I love it for any kind of cream cheek product. Today I'm using a liquid contour. It's the e.l.f. Camo Liquid Bronzer in the shade Fair. So with this, I usually just do a few dots around my face. And then this brush is literally, I don't know what it is about it. It's just the perfect shape and size and density for blending out cream cheek products. Perfect for cream bronzer, but also cream blush. And I'm gonna use it for both today. So for cream blush today, I'm reaching into my Patrick Ta Blush Duo in Not Too Much. And with that same brush, and just like, look at how perfectly this applies cream blush. It just like, it fits on that part of my cheek so perfectly. I'm not gonna go too heavy-handed with this because I am going to be going in with a powder blush as well. Normally I use a smaller brush to set my under eyes and then a bigger brush to set my face, but for this exercise, I had to narrow it down to 10, and so I had to sacrifice my big face powder brush. But luckily, my under eye setting brush I can use all over the face as well. This is another one from BK Beauty. It's their 113, and this is my absolute favorite for especially setting the under eyes because it is nice and tapered, but also pinched in, as you can see. So it has this nice flat shape to it. And once again, it's perfect for getting right under the eye. And then if I need to get all the way into my inner corner, I'll kind of turn it on its side and use the narrower side. But this is just such a good brush. Even when I've had like multiple options for under eye setting brushes, this is always my first choice. Today I'm also going to use this to set my entire face. And I'm using my e.l.f. Halo Glow loose setting powder in light today. Patting it all over. I do set like pretty much my entire face because I just want everything to stay in place. And this brush, even though, you know, it's a little small for setting the whole face, it totally works. If I had to give an honorable mention though to just one more brush, for setting my whole face, I love this giant kabuki brush from BK Beauty. This is their 105. This is huge. This is actually from their like original brush set that they sent me like 4 years ago, and it is still holding up very well. Some of the writing has like started to wear off on the handle, but like the brush itself, the bristles, everything is still holding up great. I never get shedding with my BK Beauty brushes. They're really fantastic quality. If you can get them on a good sale, I just highly recommend them. But this brush is great because it covers such a large surface area at a time, so you can just quickly set your entire face. For a bronzer brush, specifically for powder bronzer, I definitely like to use different brushes for creams versus powders. And to stray from BK Beauty for a bit, I have really fallen in love with this brush from Kaleidos. This is their Duo Fiber Contour Brush. I just love the way this applies bronzer. It is such a great shape and size. Today I'm going in with my Fenty bronzer in the shade Into Sun. And this, like as you'll see, is just the perfect size for applying bronzer right where I want it. Like I really like to kind of keep my bronzer close to the hairline and then sort of blend it out from there. And I just love this brush. I feel like no one talks about Kaleidos brushes, but this one and the next one we're going to talk about are both Kaleidos, and they are both fantastic. They actually replaced some BK Beauty brushes for me. Because if you saw my brush video last year, my blush and bronzer brushes, I think were both BK Beauty, but Kaleidos swooped in. I just feel like you don't see this kind of shape and size brush for bronzer very often, but this one is fantastic. And for a powder blush brush, the Kaleidos Blending Blush Brush is another one that I feel like just came in and solved all my problems. I felt like I had never really found the perfect blush brush, and this is it. So this is another shape of brush you don't really see for blush very often. It's almost like a little bit of a bigger version of that BK Beauty 113 that I use to set my under eyes. See how it's like a similar shape? It's pinched in to flatten it a bit, and it's very, very tapered. And for powder blush, I'm going back into that Patrick Ta Duo. It's also the perfect size for blush, for not letting my blush get like too large and in charge. Oh, I love it. It's not too dense, but it's also not too wispy. So it just kind of packs on the perfect amount of blush. You can like slowly build it up so it doesn't get out of control too quickly. And you can really target it exactly where you want it. If you want it on the apples of your cheeks, if you want it higher up. Two brushes from Kaleidos I adore. I've had both of these for about a year, a little over a year, and they are in perfect condition still. The blush brush is $11, the bronzer brush is $12 at full price. So really great prices on those. I actually have a new favorite highlighter brush. This is the BK Beauty and Nikki LaRose N20. This is my perfect highlighter brush. Very similar shape to my old favorite, which is now discontinued, but it was the EcoTools Soft Highlight Brush. If you know me, you know I love a fluffy, wispy highlighter brush. I don't like anything too dense or too small. I need a good diffused application of highlighter. I don't want a stripe of highlight. I just want it nice and diffused, and this is the perfect highlighter brush in my opinion. This one is also duo fiber, so you'll see, especially looking up close, the bristles are not like super densely packed. They're very fluffy, and this one is a little bit smaller, more pinpointed than the EcoTools one I used to use. So I'm going in with my Nabla Skin Glazing in Privilege. And I like to really focus my highlighter like just right here in this kind of very top part of my cheekbone. I don't like to bring it in too far down my cheek, but this brush is just perfection for blending that out, and the duo fiberness of it makes it so that it really does not disrupt like whatever you have underneath. It doesn't like lift up your blush or anything. It's just so soft. So those were all of the face brushes I decided to keep. Those were 6 brushes, which means I'm only keeping 4 eye brushes. This was really hard to narrow down. For today's eye look, I do want to apply some of my Charlotte Tilbury Eyes to Mesmerize Cream Shadow in Rose Gold. This is what I wear as my eyeshadow base pretty much every single day. It's kind of hard to do with long nails. I have to like barely tap in there. But I will usually apply this with a finger and then blend it with a brush. And I could do that with one of the crease brushes I decided to keep, if I can only keep 10, but I actually think that blended just fine with my fingers. And for today's look, I'm going to use my current obsession, which is the ColourPop Going Coconuts palette. This is not a new palette on the market, but it is to me, and I am obsessed. I would definitely have to keep one large fluffy crease brush, and I have quite a few of this type of brush, but my go-to, my favorite, is the BK Beauty Angie Hot and Flashy A503. It doesn't look like anything revolutionary, but there is just something about the shape of this brush. So I'm actually going to start by dipping into this cream shade, Shredded, in this palette, and I'm going to use this brush to set my eyeshadow primer and lid from the crease up. Normally I use a very, very old EcoTools brush for this step, but I had to narrow it down to just 10 brushes, and honestly this type of brush can totally work for this step as well. It just helps prevent creasing and also makes everything else blend even better. So with that same brush, I want to dip into Culotta, which is the taupey matte. And this really is like the main way that I'd use this brush, to just kind of start out the crease with a light matte shade. This just has like the perfect taper and the perfect round shape at the top for really getting into my crease, but also blending and diffusing the shade. And I believe the Angie Hot and Flashy brushes were really designed with mature skin in mind. And again, it's so soft, never scratchy. Also with that same brush, I'm gonna dip into Lovely Bunch, which is a little bit warmer. Just wanna warm up, I just wanna warm up the crease a little bit here. I also wanted to keep a smaller, slightly firmer crease brush for the outer corner, for more of a targeted crease application, and for like smudging shades across the lower lash line. And for that, I chose the Sigma E42. I really like Sigma's eye brushes, but my main complaint with them is that the tips of the bristles are mostly dark, so I can never tell if a brush is dirty or if it has like a bright blue shadow on it or a brown, you know? This is the kind of brush I like to use for applying shadows to the outer corner or for a more targeted crease application. It's also great for smudging shadows on the lower lash line because it is really nice and small. For this look, I'm gonna dip into Shell Yeah, which is that warm brown matte. And you'll see just how versatile this brush is. It's nice and dense, so it's good for kind of building up shadow in the outer corner, but it's also really soft, so you can blend with it too. And I was also thinking this would be the brush I would use if I'm only keeping 10 to blend out cream shadows. Like if I apply an eyeshadow stick all over the lid, this would work well for blending that out. Today I didn't need to blend my cream shadow, my finger worked just fine, but sometimes I do need a cream blending brush, and this is what I would use for that in this hypothetical world where I only have 10 brushes. Starting to think, it might be nice to only own 10 brushes, you know, like be so quick and easy to wash them too. Back to my big crease brush, the A503. Diffusing all of that a little bit more. And I'm going back to the Sigma E42 and I'm dipping into this dark brown Nutty. And I'm taking this in my outer corner. This is my darkest shade, so I'm just applying this where I want the most definition. Focusing it mainly right above the upper lashes in this outer third of my lid, but also bringing it up. And I also want to take a mix of these two mattes down on the lower lash line as well, and you'll see here just how well this brush works for smudging down below. And I almost always apply shimmers with my fingers, so that's what I'm going to do for my lid shade. I'm going to dip into the shade The Cocoa, which is this shimmery taupe, and I'm just packing that on the lid. I did want to keep a small brush for the inner corner that I could also use as a shader brush if I needed to, like kind of a detailed packing brush. This is another one from the BK and Nikki LaRose collection, and it's the N23. This is like a really small shader brush comes to a nice little point as well. And I really love this for the inner corner, so that's what I'm going to use it for today. And then we'll also probably pull that shade onto the lid a little bit. So I'm going to go into the shade Cocoa Crush and just see how perfectly sized this is for the inner corner. I often use my fingers for the inner corner too, but my nails are just too long for that right now. I'll also pull some of this shade onto like the inner third of my lid, and you could use this all over the lid too if you needed like a lid shader brush. So yeah, I'm just pulling that up about a third of the way across my lid. And even though this is a really small brush, it's very soft. Like I'm practically able to blend with it too. You could also definitely use this to smudge along the lower lash line as well. There's really a lot of ways you could use this brush, and that's kind of what I was going for when I chose these brushes was, you know, what would offer me the most versatility. And the last type of brush that I would definitely want to have if I could only keep 10 is some sort of winged liner brush. And I would say my favorite winged liner brush is this one from Sigma. This is their EO6. This one is very small and precise, and I like that the bristles are a little bit longer than your average winged liner brush. Like they have a little bit of give to them. So today I'm going to use this with my Tower 28 one liner in Draw Me. So I'm going to use this on the top to do a little bit of a wing. And the way I like to do this is I'll just kind of messily apply the liner to like the outer half of my upper lash line. And then I'll take my liner brush, pick up a little bit more onto the brush directly, and then I just use that to blend what I have on there and then flick it out. You can see I was able to get just a really nice sharp wing with that brush. Love, 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 love. And that is my completed makeup look using only 10 brushes. I would say I would be pretty comfortable with just these 10 brushes. I would certainly miss having a few more options on hand, but I think I could live pretty comfortably with only 10 makeup brushes. Let me know in the comments, what 10 brushes would you keep if you could only keep 10? Or are you a minimalist already? Let us know down below, but thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and hopefully I'll talk to you very soon in my next video. Bye!